You heard that age-old saying that culture eats strategy for breakfast, yeah? Well, what I'm going to explore in this video is the concept of square pegs in round holes. So you might have heard it talked about before, and I always would kind of joke and say that my business, we were very much a round peg company, a round hole company, and we needed round pegs to fit in our round hole company. And I'm going to share with you a story of where we hired a square peg and I tried to fit my square peg into my round hole company. And I think the takeaway is it's important to look for people who really fit the culture of your business, okay? So I remember it was a few years ago now and we were recruiting for a head of marketing. And we'd been trying to recruit for this role for what felt like an eternity, okay? And we went through rounds and rounds of interviews, and the people we were interviewing just weren't right. They weren't the right fit for the business. They didn't have the right skills. And I remember getting a CV through, and this CV was absolutely perfect. I mean, literally, this person had all of the skills that we needed, okay? And I was so excited. And when she came in for interview, I knew within the first 5 minutes, bit of a rub there. She's not quite the right person, right? However, her interview was phenomenal. She absolutely had all of the skills we needed and more. What she was going to bring to the business was going to drive us on no end. I was so excited at the prospect of having her in the business, but I knew, and it was screaming at me, she's not a round peg, she's not a round peg. We've learned this in the past, we've tried this before and it hasn't worked, but I was so desperate to have those skills that I convinced myself that, you know what, I'll work on her. I'll work on her personal development. I'll try and polish off the corners of that square peg so she's maybe a bit hexagonal and we'll wedge her in. That'll be fine, okay? I went into that recruitment eyes wide open, knowing fine well that she wasn't a cultural fit in the business, but underestimating the importance of that in the business and thinking that I could just make it work. And the problem is, once she'd been in the business a few weeks, for all she was having a fantastic impact with the stuff that she was doing, you started to see the creaks showing. And the problem is, the whole of the rest of my company, every other one of them employees, they're all round peg employees. We're all the same culture, all driven by the same values. That's why we work so well as a team, okay? So you get this square peg comes in a leadership role and starts trying to make changes to the way and the values that the marketing team are run by. And you see the rub with the staff, and what you've got is all of the staff there are thinking one of two things, right? They're either thinking, this person's bad, but does Sara think this is acceptable? Does she think this is okay for this person to be behaving this way? And the sort of things they're saying and the way they're going about things. Is Sara thinking this is okay in our company? Or the other thing is, they're thinking, Sara can't possibly be on the ball because she's not aware of all this stuff. Either way, those people are thinking poorly of my leadership, right? They are losing respect for me, which means I am losing what's called leadership equity, okay? Now, leadership equity is a really, really valuable concept, okay? So leadership equity is the trust and respect that you have built up with your staff over time. And it's really important to understand that leadership equity is a really, really precious commodity, right? It takes a long time, years and years and years, to build up leadership equity within your teams. And as slowly as it takes to build it up, it can drop off a cliff in seconds. So you can lose that leadership equity with people instantaneously. Now, eventually, my actions with this head of marketing role were to sit down, have a chat with her, explain that it wasn't going to work out. As great as she was, had fantastic skills, she wasn't a fit for the business. And this is why. And I had to explain to her that it was my fault. I'd made a mistake in recruiting her. She wasn't a bad person. She did not have the skills. I knowingly put her into our business, knowing that she wasn't a cultural fit, because I was so desperate both to recruit the role and to have her in there. The problem is, and please don't underestimate this, it took 2 years for that marketing team to fully get over the damage that she'd done in just a few months. 2 years. And I'm not just meaning it was 2 years people were still banging on about it, but to really feel like it had totally gone away so it had never happened, even though it was only a few months, it was years and years to unpick that, okay? And I think there's some really big lessons to learn here and some huge takeaways. And I want you to learn from the benefit of my experience, okay? So the key takeaways here are we recruit for values, not for skills, okay? I'm a firm believer that you can teach anybody anything, but you can't teach them to be the right person. Secondly, recruit people that you like, because chances are that feeling's mutual. You're going to be spending a lot of time with these people. You really need to be enjoying working with them. And then thirdly, as I learned, understand what type of company you are. I was a round peg company, so we need you to recruit round pegs to fit in our round hole company. Really important to always make sure that you are recruiting the right type of people into your organisation, because remember what I said, culture eats strategy for breakfast.